Welcome. So welcome everybody. I appreciate you being here. One thing I would love to do, we have tower gardeners from very beginning, just started, first time outside, and then I have some experienced gardeners that have had it for a few years. So we have kind of the whole run the gamut, and I have lots of questions, and I figured this was, or I hear lots of questions rather. And I figured this was probably the good interface, and we have more people in Arizona. We have Arizona, New Mexico.
Why?
Where? I'm in Colorado. Oh yeah, I'm here in Colorado. And then we also have in Hawaii as well. And another one in Colorado who just jumped on. So exciting. So I would love if anyone wants to speak up and say like where they're at, so we can kind of see you and say hi and tell us where in the country you're at. And do you have a tower garden inside or is it outside?
Yep, both. I'm Judy. I'm in New Mexico. We have the tower garden outside in the summer, but in a greenhouse so we can start it earlier because we live at 9,000 feet and it seemed like it took a while to warm up this spring. And then we have it in the back room now and I'll walk back there later. Yeah, so both.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Both. That's the best part about the tower garden is that you can do both. That's one of the reasons why I love my tower garden.
And Daryl's here because he's my garden guy because I'm busy.
Perfect. Thank you. Yay. And who else? Where else are we coming in from?
Well, I'm in Mesa, Arizona.
Yay.
Started mine first timer. Started it middle of September, I think it was. Did really, really well, except that it stayed hot for way too long. Right. And a lot of my stuff bolted on me because it was just ridiculously hot. But other than that, it's doing really, really well.
Awesome. So yeah, some things will go well and some things need a little bit of extra love.
Yes, I've noticed that.
Or just eat it like lettuces. They bolt quickly in the heat. So eat them quick and then plant something else.
Right. That's what we did. So
perfect.
Yeah. Hey everyone, I'm Chris. I'm in Gilbert, Arizona. I've got two towers. I don't know if you can see them both. I'm trying to make my camera look better here. Hold on, maybe if I do this. There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
There we go. So I have both of mine outside right now because I had an indoor one and I was struggling with aphids inside and I got a little frustrated. So I moved my inside one outside. So I have two of them outside right now.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And Chris, since you're showing off, will you speak a little bit of the two tower gardens? Because they obviously look different.
They are, yeah. So this front one is my home tower garden, but I actually took the top layer off that has the microgreens and I replaced it with just a solid layer. So they both have five layers high. This one, the smaller one has 13 gallons of water. The larger one, which is the Flex, has 20 gallons of water. But I'm kind of growing, lots of different things on it. Lots of Swiss chard, kale, cabbage. I've got lettuce. Got my marigolds over there, keep the bugs away. Spinach down here on the bottom. This is another different type of spinach that grows better in colder weather in the winter. Ooh. But it's really pretty. It's almost like it vines and then it has flowers. So that's sort of cool. And then I've got tomatoes down on the bottom and what else? Kale, Swiss chard. Oh, basil.
Ooh,
basil and celery.
Great.
So, yeah, the basil is looking good. I've been cutting that back. This is my celery. I've got cilantro someplace, but I've been using it a lot. So I can't tell by where I put it here. But yeah, so those
It's
are my
so hard
two. This is my indoor one. His name is Clive, and my outdoor one's name is Baxter.
You have names.
I know.
love
I had
their
to name them. What's that?
I love that they're named.
Well, you helped me name Clive.
I know, I did. I love that. That's why I like it so much.
Exactly.
So the inside, yeah, we will speak to bugs. I have a little video. Well, I'll move to a piece of a presentation from
Yeah.
Tim Blank, and we'll talk about a little bit about bugs, because sometimes bugs happen, and that's true. So
Carol
do.
knows about
Yeah, they
bugs,
do.
so ask me later
okay,
about aphids.
okay, all right. So where else are we coming in from? Does anyone else want to speak?
What are you doing?
I'm Christine. I'm from Arizona also.
Yay!
Hey.
I have one garden and I just planted it actually. So it's just starting to bloom and it's my third year having a room. So
Yay! So exciting. Yeah, this is the perfect time. I mean, kind of beginning / middle of the season for Arizona people. For all of us in Colorado or cold climate people, it's got to be inside this time of year.
So Nikki, we're about to go into the 70s next week in Arizona. Yay.
Yay!
But to the extent that we haven't planted in the Tower Garden, I've got the chart from the guy you like here that I forget his
Greg
name.
Peterson.
Yes, I've got his chart for what to plant when. And obviously there's things that do better in the Tower Garden than other things that might do better in dirt. Is there anything that you know of? I've got about half of my Tower Garden planted that I was able to get actually planted because there was a person that was here at my home that was supposed to help me out with it and do it for me while I was providing other services. And the person just flaked out on me. So I had to go ahead and do it myself the next weekend. We won't speak to who that was.
I don't know who that was.
So
I'm interested in the other services.
well, I did learn about bitch and sauce. So, we got a good parody there. So my question is twofold. What, if anything, does anybody have good experience with about planting this time of the year? I'm debating if I should be trying to add to things that are not in the garden, because I think I have, 8 or 10 open slots, or should I hold off and wait until we go through the hopefully real cold spell and just plant in January?
Great question. I would say as we're kind of going into the colder seasons, I've grown broccoli pretty well. I didn't get really big heads of broccoli, but I loved the broccoli, and you can eat broccoli greens as well as the broccoli heads, which I never knew before growing on the Tower Garden, that actually broccoli is sweet when you eat it, when it's fresh. It's not normal, like, I don't say bitter, essentially, when you buy it at the store. One of my absolute favorite go-tos is Swiss chard.
Yeah.
Got
I was
that
gonna-
planned already.
Oh, it's Swiss chard or lettuces.
Lettuce, kale, Swiss chard, any of your herbs, parsley, cilantro.
That's everything planted. Lettuce, kale, Swiss chard, and my survivors from 110 degrees, 115 degrees, which was the one hugest zucchini I've ever grown.
Yeah.
Yay!
And that zucchini plant finally had to bite the bullet, but a cherry tomato plant
Yep.
survived all of the heat, and a red pepper plant survived. And the red pepper plant is producing peppers now in pretty good quantity, waiting for the tomatoes to come through. But planted all the planted herbs and planted the Swiss chard and planted kale. Haven't gotten back to planting lettuces. I guess the lettuces will do okay in the cold.
Yes, lettuces will actually do better in the cold. I mean, not when it's real cold, but it's not going to get real cold till maybe January, February in Arizona.
Lettuce can get snowed on. I've seen it.
All right. And then one last observation. I don't have a lot of time tonight, but I wanted to share what I could because, you know, we all have such great admiration for Nikki's never, ever, ever, ever ending energy,
Yes, we do.
positive mental attitude. To the degree that I've had to deal with either the aphids or the bugs. And obviously, if you're growing stuff in tower gardens, using chemicals is just like not an idea that you're going to even think about. My most sophisticated solution so far has been Dr. Bonner soap diluted in a spray bottle with water. And I just spray the Dr. Bonner's, which is basically peppermint oil and lots of other things that they put in it. But it's done a really good job of making all those bugs run away.
Awesome. Okay, so Dr. Bronner's, I will share a little bit of video. They talked about that. But one of the big things that Tim Blank says is neem oil, a little bit of soap, and water. And those are ones that really work well for a lot of different bugs.
What is neem oil?
Neem oil, here, let me get one real quick.
While she's gone, I want to tell you about Daryl's solution for aphids. A shot of vodka in a pint of water, quart of water, and then also sugar ants. He put sugar ants or sugar on the stems, which drew ants, which ate the aphids. It was like a beautiful symbiotic relationship. So vodka or sugar, ants.
Interesting. Now that's a new one. I have never heard that before.
He used my good vodka though. That was the problem.
Okay, so if I'm back on the screen, I don't know if you can see this. I have a neem oil. This is like a 1 ounce. This will last a long time. You just put very little bit in it, but neem is basically NEEM. You can find it Amazon like everything else, or maybe even in some closer stores, but neem oil seems to be. So a little bit of neem, and I will actually, we're recording this, so I have towards the end, if you have to jump off, I understand. But I will link, there'll be a link somehow. I will send it to you, reach out to me. There is you can actually look it up on the Tower Garden website. It actually has 6 different, well, you know what? I can actually just go ahead and share my screen real quick and show you real quick, since we're talking about it. Anything with pests. Pests don't happen very often, but if they do, they happen. So the Tower Garden website, you go to this blog over here, and you want to search the blog and you type in Tim Blank is the creator of the Tower Garden. And he's actually written a couple of different articles. And one of them is 6 Simple Secrets for a Pest-Free Garden. And he has all kinds of different, I mean, it's a pretty long blog. I won't heavily go into it. We can go into it a little bit later, but he talks about the different climates. For all you in Arizona, highly recommend you can find where, like, what season, what grows in what season. I highly recommend to go to Greg Peterson of the Urban Farm. He's done his research. He's amazing. He actually has a Tower Garden himself. But this one talks about pests and where is it? How to avoid pests, signs of disease, scouting often. Then it talks about what to do when you actually spray. These are different sprays. So sprays for aphids, mites. So it's neem oil, soap, and water, essentially. And then they have some for worms, for thrips, which I'll play a little video, and he talks about what that is. And then as well as funguses. So these are widely used in the horticulture industry. That's where these solutions come from. There are other solutions that work well, but these are some really good ones. And it's easy to find because it's on the Tower Garden website.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. And I wanted to say hi to Alicia. I know she's muted and she typed in that she's in Chandler. She is new to the Tower Garden. She is going to set hers up soon, or I think it's set up, it's not planted yet. So we're kind of, she's still learning. I'm giving her more inspiration. And do we want to do any other show and tells currently? I know Maureen has to jump off somewhat soon.
I actually put my tower together after 2 years of having it sit in a box. So thank you.
Yay, finally.
Follow up. Nikki's been so great about following up with me and not making me wrong for my long delay. And so I planted and I need to replant because it hasn't really taken. So I'm in the process of replanting, and I live in Hawaii, so I can actually use it year round outside. So I don't really know.
You're lucky.
Yeah. So pretty much warm, like hot today. Actually, it's like 85. So I don't think it's, I don't have to worry about cold.
Maureen, do you know why it didn't take so far?
I don't know if it's because it was sitting for 2 years, and that could have been part of it.
No, that won't have anything to do with the plastic. So my personal experience, when I was a rookie, I had the thought process of making sure that all of the water that I put in the Tower Garden went through major filtration, and basically the filtration cleaning system was potassium, because the inside water in the house is cleaned through a water softener, and the water softener uses potassium to filter it. So I ended up putting water in the Tower Garden that had lots of potassium residue. Nikki finally showed up. I had killed, I think, 10 or 12 plants. She looked at me like, no, this can't happen. She went and purchased 15 plants, brought them to my house, tore my Tower Garden apart, and helped me put it back together with just clean water straight from the hose. So while it still had chlorine in it, it also had all the mineral content. And she said, just let this sit for 24 hours so the chlorine will burn off, and then we'll plant your plants and turn it on. And it grew like mad.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm actually having problems like getting the seeds to sprout. That's like, I planted them in the tin that they came in. I've only had 3 out of the whole 10 that have sprouted.
I think when we zoomed, the reason that my thought why they didn't is that they weren't getting enough sun. They weren't getting that warmth because they were in the shade. That's my educated guess on why they weren't sprouting, and that's why I was like, just plant the same seeds in those little rock wools that you had named, so you knew where everything was. Just plant more seeds in them, keep it in the sun so it gets that warmth. So the thing for seeds that I've learned the best is warmth, a little bit of sun. You definitely want sun, but warmth has been key. That's been my downfall when I couldn't find seeds. And then soaking the rock wool. So I'd soak the rock wool for like a half an hour before you put the seeds in it, because then it actually is fully warm or wet and it doesn't struggle. And that seems to be the best. I've stopped really using the vermiculite. They have the vermiculite, so it makes it seem like it's underneath soil essentially. And that's like the popcorn stuff that you get with the Tower Garden. I haven't used that in a while, and it doesn't seem to make any difference, to be honest.
And Nikki, if you can turn off your ears, I'm going to give Maureen another little tip I heard from somebody else
Okay.
on one of her previous calls. And this is how you cheat.
Oh.
So put your seeds in the little green, whatever that thing is.
Rock wool. Rock wool.
You're not supposed to be listening, Nikki.
Oh, sorry.
Put your seeds in the rock wall and stick them straight into the Tower Garden. Put your seeds in the rock wall and put it in your aluminum tins like you're supposed to, like they told you to do. Be a good little girl and follow the instructions and color between the lines. And while you color between the lines, also color outside of the lines. Just go straight into the Tower Garden. And you're going to find that those seeds that go straight in the tower garden are probably going to come and spurt up just as fast, if not faster, than the ones that you're trying to take care of every day that you don't have time to. And when you don't get them watered correctly, and suddenly they go dry a little bit, and the seeds, that's the problem I had with trying to handle it. It was like, you know, it was as though I was dating a 20-year-old blonde. It was way too much maintenance. Doesn't
Hey,
work.
that's not cheating. I've done that too.
That
So
sounds
yeah,
like a good
just stick
idea.
them right in the tower garden. That was
Yeah.
Right in
cute.
the tower garden.
Yeah, that sounds
The
good.
other thing I found that was very helpful was I had no way of remembering what I put where. And you know, it sprouts, it's green. The other thing that's next to it sprouts, it's green. It's like, okay, what was that again? I have to forget it. So if you've ever worked in an office environment, they used to have something called a label maker. And they still sell them at Costco.
Mhm.
And I found the best thing for me to do is as I'm planting my seeds, I type out the label, print it, and I can adhere it right underneath the place on the tower garden where it goes. So I can look and go, okay, that's that. And that's this, and that's that. And then I know which ones aren't growing. And this time I planted the exact same seeds I planted in the tower garden, I planted in a dirt garden. And guess which one sprouted first?
Tower.
Tower garden.
Yeah.
So that was, I mean, those are the two things that I found to be very helpful, which is to simplify the process of planting it and making sure I can remember what I put where when.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that little label maker that I haven't used because we're, you know, professionally, we're all in paperless environments now. So I haven't used the thing in bloody years, but I don't throw anything away. My wife hates the fact that I keep stuff for forever. But then again, I find uses for it. To what extent that may be helpful, I'm deciding that the oregano didn't take in the tower garden, and the tarragon didn't take in the tower garden. There's one other herb that's not growing. A couple of them are growing in the dirt garden, but the oregano is not growing in either place. So what that tells me is it's probably the seeds
Yeah.
more than anything else. So I have to go buy new oregano seeds. So for what it's worth, there's a nickel's worth of information.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Uh-huh.
And I heard Rain jump on and I see her beautiful face. So I was hoping to call her out because she's got 3 tower gardens up here in Colorado. And I just wanted to hear a little bit from you. I know you're not home, so we can't see them, but
I'm in the sauna.
nice.
Yeah, I have 3 of them now. They're all up and going. But I'm noticing now because I live at like 9,000 elevation. It's cold at my house. So my little seedlings are not growing as easily as they did in the summer.
Yeah.
So I think I just need to get my heating pad and throw them out there to start them out.
Yeah.
Everything's growing. I love them.
Yay! So she has all 3 of them inside. I helped her set one up outside, but being at 9,000 feet in the wind, it was too cold for the tower garden. So we just ended up moving it inside, and she's got beautiful picture windows, which I wish we could see them, but it's all right.
I know. I wish I was home. Yeah, they're looking good. I just planted seeds maybe like 2 weeks ago. So now I have like a bunch of babies starting up, and I have chard that's fully grown on one of them, and then like 3 different kinds of kale on another. And I'm using one of my towers for just herbs. And yeah, I'm just experimenting. This is like my first summer really diving deep in it. I bought them like, I don't know, 5-6 years ago.
So you're not the only
but I
one
just move
worried.
a lot. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I just move a lot, and finally.
Rain,
What was that?
do you have lights or just the window?
Lights.
Okay.
I have lights inside. Yeah, I have lights. The window that they're at doesn't get direct sunlight. And now I'm noticing the window gets very cold at night. So I might need to move them away from the window.
See, that was going to be my recommendation, especially if it's getting cold and you're wanting to germinate seedlings. Just for that warmth piece, moving them away from moving them farther into the house so it stays warmer will help them germinate faster. And then once they're growing, you kind of move it back closer to the window, because big plants can handle the cold, but little plants, they need. So back to my sun for the seedlings is sun, heat, and then to maintain their moisture. And that has been one of my downfalls as well. It's like making sure that I keep watering them, because that's the reason why the tower garden works so well for me, is because I kill plants because I forget to water them. But the tower garden does that for me.
Nikki?
Yes.
Haven't you duplicated the automatic watering system that I showed you that I built for the tower garden?
For inside, I use, okay, there's another trick. I'm in an apartment here. We'll do official show and tell of Nikki's tower garden now. But I'm inside the apartment, and so I actually use I have a contraption that I bought for
the sink. The nozzle.
So I actually attach the hose to the sink.
Right. So you can
definitely not automatic.
you could attach a three-way valve or another point of source water. And remember, I showed you how I used the float from the what would be a float that you would use in a
toilet,
a water feature or a pool.
Oh, okay.
I put the float inside the fill and connected it to the carbon filter that is then getting water from the essentially the hose spigot, if I can talk. So an automatic watering system is your solution. You just have to put it together.
Well, I was talking about the seedlings.
Right, to keep them wet.
See, I started new seedlings here, and I also have a plant, which I wanted to speak to. I had a plant that I bought at the store from the dying plant department. And I'm not going to leave it in this pot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rinse off whatever growing medium it's in. It's not really soil, but I'll rinse that off, wrap it in a rock wool, and then just stick it in the tower garden. Then you bypass the planting of new sprouts. You can just keep plants growing. I've done this number of times, growing plants that are already growing. They're like dying, that you're like, well, that doesn't look very good. But you can buy it for 25 cents or something, come home, stick it in the tower garden, and it does great. I've done that with basil. I've done that with cilantro. I've done that with, I don't know, quite a few other little plants that you can get that they sell like that as plants. So I have some peppers here. These are newbies. How old do you say these guys are? These are probably 2 months old, maybe not even. 2 months. And I've got a bunch of peppers, and then this pepper, because this tower I've had inside for a year. I actually planted this pepper November last year, so it's still giving us peppers. I've got one down here. It's so exciting. I got a little pepper right here. And nasturtiums, those are fun, pretty flowers and or spicy things. I always get people to, if they don't know what they are, I get them to try a leaf because it has this bite like a radish.
Disgusting.
It's just fun. Michael's not a fan. I did do that trick with him as well. And then I've got a bunch of kales. And then speaking to another thing on the kale is, if you notice this, it's got like a bunch of just like sticks on it. So I learned from Tim Blank, who's the tower garden guru. He's the one that created the tower garden, how to harvest it. And when you have a whole lot, like this one's kind of overgrown, you look at the growing tip. Whoop. So where the new growth is, and you actually pick the big leaves above it, and you just snip it right up here with scissors. Snip. And that's what I did with these. So I did this about a week ago. I left it all just but these tiny little leaves, and this is what's grown in a week. All of these, I just pulled them up, snipped off the top. So I did this, snipped off the top, and then let it keep growing. So that's an easy way, a fast way to harvest it instead of picking off each leaf at a time, because you want to harvest the big leaves first for the harvesting piece. So I have that. And then I have a bunch of kales. I actually think this is kind of what I did last year. These are broccoli microgreens that didn't get eaten as microgreens. So now it's just a whole bunch of broccoli plants. So I really need to thin it out so I can make sure they actually grow broccoli. And then I also have chives, which are really good for keeping bugs away. And they're good. They keep growing forever. I got these came from a Tower Garden friend and gardener in Utah. She sent them in the mail to me, and I just stuck them right in the Tower Garden, and they've gotten crazy. And then I have this bush over here because everyone asked me if you can grow marijuana on a Tower Garden. So I'm proving that you can, and I'm testing it out myself. So that is what this one is. So still a work in progress. Still don't know what I'm doing with that, but it's been fun so far. Thank you, Maureen, for stopping in. I appreciate it. She just sent a message. She's got to leave. So that is my Tower Garden. And then what I was going to do is play a little video, unless we have any questions.
I'm good.
Okay, I was going to play a video. Let me share my screen. Ooh, let me make sure I go back to this other one. Ooh, no, that's not what I'm doing. Hold on. Let me go back to this Tower Garden video and talks a little bit about where to put the Tower Garden. For all you newbies, it's important that you're putting it in like the right location, right? So we're gonna go to 17 minutes and learn from Tim Blank, who is the Tower Garden guru.
Today I want to step for many new Tower Gardeners we've got on here, many people that have their Tower Garden, like Steve said, was on back order for a few days, and it's probably going to be arriving here shortly. So let's pretend your Tower Garden shows up at your doorstep. Where do I place my Tower Garden? So that's where we're going to start tonight. So I want to give you 5 simple key things to consider, but they're very important. Even though they're simple, they're important. So these are going to be some slides that we're going to be definitely taking some pictures of here. Lots of sunlight. If you think of the garden your parents, your grandparents had, the gardens were always out in a sunny spot of the yard. That's because vegetable crops need a lot of sunlight, highlight area. In fact, if you're growing fruiting crops like tomatoes, squash, pepper, like you see that just came off those towers there, the more light you have, the more fruit those fruiting crops are going to set. It's just that simple. Some beautiful strawberries. You can obviously see, Steve, right? That tower's getting a lot of sunlight. That's a great fruit set there. We got it Living Towers in Eustis, Florida. So lots of sunlight. Water. You want to be near a hose bib. If you set up your tower and you don't have a hose bib near you, it's not fun and simple if you're running buckets or jugs of water every week from the opposite side of your property. So I recommend go to your hardware store, get a high pressure hose where you can kind of leave your hose bib on and just keep it by the tower. So you can keep, check your tower, if we top off a reservoir a few times a week. It can definitely go for a lot of people, can go, 1, 2, 3 weeks without topping it off. But I always, especially in the summer heat, I love to keep my reservoir topped off because that's going to keep your tower garden cool throughout the day. When your tower starts in the morning, if you have 20 gallons of water, that 20 gallons of water is going to be whatever the nighttime temperature is. So the more gallons of water that you have in that reservoir, the longer it takes for that reservoir to warm up, right? So especially in the summer heat, I love keeping a full tower garden reservoir. Now, in most cities around the country, we have excellent water supply. Sometimes people are concerned with chlorine. I really don't get real concerned. In fact, chloride is a required essential trace mineral for all plant life. So chlorine doesn't really bother our plants. It also dissipates very quickly in the tower garden because we're aerating that water. But for the desert Southwest, in particular places like Tucson, Phoenix, Las Vegas, the water can be really hard, and it requires a lot of the tower gardeners maybe to flush out their reservoirs more frequently. So if you have really hard water and you live in those regions, and I think most of you that know me already from those regions, because you've heard me give a desert webinar, I think 3 weeks ago, there's a great filter made by this company called CP Gator. And they designed it for both backyard gardening, because you don't want minerals building up in your garden, and for hydroponics. You can look for these online. Also, one of our awesome desert farmers, True Garden in Phoenix, Arizona, carries these on his website, truegarden.com. So if you live in that region, you probably already know that they have these available, or just search for them online, either one. Next, I'd like to talk about power. Now, this is really, really important, because when for a lot of us, if we find that sunny spot, it may not necessarily be right next to a power outlet, right? When they build your home, maybe they put 4 outlets around your house or something like that. So if you have to run extension cords, something I don't want you to do is run into your attic or basement, grab those indoor Christmas tree extension cords and attach 5 together over 100 feet. I promise you, it's going to trip that GFI outlet, and your tower is going to wilt on you. So here's what you do. If you don't want your outlet to trip, and you want to make sure you've got the best available power, just measure off what that distance is, and then go to your local hardware store and pick up an extension cord, just the exact length you need. I just want to see you use one extension cord, and find the thickest one you can find of that length. It's going to be more expensive, but a better insulated extension cord running over a long distance is going to help keep that outlet from tripping. A lot of thin cords, and make sure, of course, it's outdoor rated. Now, one other little tip, here's an example of our timer. When it shows up, you're growing outdoor. It's not on right now, but you're going to press that center button. You're going to select O for outdoor, and it's already pre-programmed for outdoor operation, and you're going to hang this from your outdoor outlet. What I don't like to see is people laying this on the ground. We don't want it to end up in a water puddle. This is outdoor rated, but it's supposed to be hanging up off the ground. So if your outlet is a little ways up in your house, just plug it in, let it hang down like that, plug your extension cord in, and then run it over to your tower garden, or for many of you, your tower gardens. Okay, protection. Yeah, we have people growing tower gardens on rooftops and balconies, and pretty much we're growing anywhere on earth with tower garden. I mean, literally, I think they're even thinking about it down at the South Pole Research Station. But let's say if you live in a really windy area. I grew up in the Dakotas, and oh my goodness, the spring and summer, the wind could just howl all day, and sometimes that's really rough on young plants in a vertical condominium right up off the ground. Also, for those of you that are lucky enough to live next to a forest or a green area or a national park or state land, you might have a lot of critters running around. So just a simple fence backyard is going to prevent those things from getting at the tower. It's also going to reduce wind. And the last one, but just as important, is all the rest. In fact, in my mind, it's one of the most important things is accessibility. What do I mean by that? Here's a top view of a home. Here's your kitchen. Here's your table. I like to see a tower garden, a location like that, where whether I'm in my kitchen, I'm walking out to my pool, I'm walking out to my patio, I'm sitting at my table, I'm going to see my tower garden. What we have learned is people who have their tower gardens accessible. Now, this isn't always possible if you're limited on space. You're trying to put your tower garden in an area where you have light. But if you have an area where you get good light, when you walk by your tower garden every day, you're going to give it some love and tender loving care. You're going to talk to it. These plants are growing vertical off the ground. They literally become part of the family. It's kind of painful when you have to pull your tower at the end of the season or something like that. Here's Jessica and I's kitchen, Orlando, Florida. So our tower gardens are right outside the door. For us, we walk out there, we harvest a salad for dinner, 10 steps, tower to table. That simple. So accessibility, really, really important. So the next thing I'm going to do is I kind of talked to your, let's recap. Your tower shows up at your doorstep with pretty much everything to grow. Now, if you want to buy some seedlings from a reputable seedling supplier. We have amazing commercial tower farmers coast to coast across the United States that grow seedlings, and they distribute tens of thousands of seedlings every week or month to tower gardeners all over the country. So you can buy a living seedling from somebody. You can, I love Johnny's seed, for example. I go online and find some great different varieties of things I might like. I mean, what we send you is a diverse group of things to get started with. But if you like something different, go ahead and, for sure get started with them. So we talked about where to place your tower, water, power, all the things you need to get growing. Because we are in the late spring heading into summer, the next thing I want to talk about is how to manage summertime pests. Now, I know whether you have landscape plants, whether you have a conventional garden, or whether you have a tower garden, you're going to be dealing with some sort of pest during the summertime heat.
Well, obviously this presentation was from summer, so that definitely makes a difference. I wanted to say, was there any like ahas that anyone had? I appreciate, Alicia, you were like, thank you, it's been so helpful. Thank you for being on. Was there any ahas that you heard from that little bit so far?
Carol, can you hear this?
Yeah.
One of the biggest things for me was the connecting the timer to the wall. For me, I always put the timer with the tower garden because I was like, well, it's closer to the tower garden. But actually having the tower garden on the wall, so it's hanging, so it's not, there's no possibility of water getting inside of it and it's messing it up. So it's actually hanging on the wall, and then you connect the one extension cord to the tower garden. That was big for me for outdoor stuff, because I always had like a plate covering it up and trying to do. Yeah, so some things that we've learned. And then as far as pests, I could jump ahead and talk a little, and he can show a little bit, or if we have any questions. No, everyone's good? Okay. All right, I'll share my screen again and go back to it. But I can continue where it was. Ooh, exit full screen, it says. Oh no. Exit full screen. And then I'll share it and then go full screen again. Okay, here we are. So this was summertime pests, but then he talks about going to, if I switch tabs, do you guys see a different tab?
Mm.
Do you see the same tab? Is it still a video?
No, it shows, yeah, it just shows the picture of him.
Okay. Okay. So yes, so it talks about using a lot of light, distancing from other plants. Actually, let's go back to his video because he talks a little bit about all the specifics, which is really, really important. So we'll just do that.
Full time of years.
Even though it's not summer.
Now with Tower Garden, we eliminate soil-borne funguses, soil-borne diseases, and soil-borne insects. So just growing vertically up off the ground, our food is very clean. It's not covered with, you're not scrubbing your food off to try to get all the dirt and stuff off it like a conventional garden. That's one of the reasons I really love growing leafy greens, lettuces and herbs, cucumber, tomato, bell pepper, eggplant. All those things are clean. I literally don't have to wash them. But there are a few pests that can go after towers. So I want to show you, this is really cool, how to find simple organic ways and techniques of pest control. We are going to jump to
Tim's on towergarden.com now.
Yep, so here we are, towergarden.com. This, so when you land on towergarden.com, there's the home page. And if you look at those main tabs up there, you've got the grow tab. Sure, most of you were on the shop tab when you purchased your tower garden. And then you have a blog tab. So go ahead and we'll click on that blog tab. And we'll drop down, we'll go to the green search. Now I'm not using the search up on the website because that's gonna yield different results. But once you're in the blog, I'm gonna click on that green little search glass, and then we're gonna type in Tim Blank. Hit search, and I've authored several blogs. So we're gonna scroll down and we're gonna see, okay, 11 matches for Tim Blank. The first match there is the one I want you to look at. 6 simple secrets for a pest-free garden. this is the blog I kind of walked through today. Now, for the sake of time, we're not going to go through this blog in extraordinary detail. You can go here after this webinar and check it out for yourself and go through in detail. But I just want to walk through the 6 simple secrets for a pest-free garden that I do and any master gardener would do. So most of the tips I'm going to give you, these are master garden techniques that you'd use in a conventional garden. And a few of these are modified for the tower garden, of course. So to start off with, let's talk about location. Grow in a good location. And there's 2 things that create a good location. Lots of sunlight. You can see I'm getting blinded there in the afternoon sun. And so lots of light and distance from other plants. Now, talk about what I mean for distance from other plants. Weeds. A lot of people, if you go in their backyard, they have a lot of big weeds everywhere. Not your grasses, but your broadleaf weeds are host to a lot of vegetable pests. So if I've got a lot of weeds in my backyard, I kind of want to, I don't want my tower right next to those weeds because the pests on the weeds are going to jump right on my tower. Also, for those that have azaleas, roses, other types of trees that gets lots of aphids and mites and whiteflies, if I can help it, I don't, I want to have a little buffer in my tower, like on a concrete patio or somewhere where they're not right next to somewhere where they're going to pick up pests right away. So that's one thing. Pick a good location. We kind of already talked about that too. Choose the right crops. So what do I mean by the right crops? First of all, you got to love what you're growing. So I know within our healthy tower garden community, a lot of us, when we first started tower gardening, we were so proud of the tower garden. We, really always promoted cornucopia towers, the little plants up top, the medium-sized plants in the middle, the big plants on the bottom, like tomatoes and eggplant, and call that pyramid planting so the sun could get into everything evenly. But we found over time that a lot of people, growing 20 different crops or 10 different crops, if you're a beginning gardener, that may not be the right thing for you. So what we learned over time is that, let's say if you have if you're into this health and wellness movement, and let's say if you want to just have a salad every night for dinner, you can do a salad tower with lots of little wonderful flavored salad toppings up there. You can do a juicing tower. You can do a fruiting tower, tomato, cucumber, bell pepper, eggplant, or you can do the cornucopia tower, but pick a theme and then grow things that you're going to love. Now, also we see here season and climate. So this whole area here is going to kind of walk through, everywhere has a season. So early spring's good. For some places, you're going to have frosts and freezes. So you're not going to plant basil first thing out of the chute. You're going to wait till, in fact, with basil, if the nighttime drops below 55 degrees, it just stalls and sits there. You could have all the fertilizer and sunlight in the world. It's not doing anything when the nights are dropping below 55 degrees. So we are very blessed in the United States because we have the United States Department of Agriculture Extension Services, and we have extension services in every county. In fact, if you go to this blog, I'm not going to do it right now for the sake of time, but you can click on this link and you can find your local county extension service. You can also Google. There's local gardening groups, but what you want to look at is your local planting guide. And you want to, especially when you're living in a northern climate, or even if you're in Phoenix, it's the opposite. I mean, it's 120 degrees in the summer. A lot of your vegetable crops don't like that much heat. So, their growing season is in December. They're going to have their own cycle. If you live in Michigan, you're going to follow your cycle. So follow your growing guide. So again, like a simple tip, you're not going to start off with basil when you still have frost nights.
Jim, can I interject there 1 second?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I know when you go to the extension, sometimes you're normally seeing traditional gardening, right? So with the tower garden, I've found that you can start a week or so earlier, and you tend to last a couple of weeks on the other end as well. So if they're telling you you can start planting basil, well, basil's not a good example because it doesn't need those temperatures, but we always are able to start sooner in the tower garden, and it seems to last longer than the traditional season too. So my suggestion is you add maybe a week or so on the front end and be prepared to continue to harvest a week or so on the other end.
Yeah, and to that point, Steve, I know for many of us who, live in Orlando and all the way down to the Keys and places where, basically we're not doing soil gardens in June, July, August, September. And, a lot of our heat tolerant crops, as long as they're established in the tower, we can push them all the way through the summer when normally the soil would wipe them out. We've got nematodes and all kinds of pests in Florida that hit us real bad in the summertime. So The tower garden is white, it's opaque, it reflects light back to the plant, it reflects the heat away from the crop. So where like say, a lot of areas in the summertime, the surface of the soil can get to be anywhere from 110 to 130 degrees. The tower garden, it doesn't even exceed the ambient temperature outdoors. So that white really does a lot for us. Number 3, start with strong seedlings. I can't tell you the number of times that I've seen people start seedlings indoors and they got all stretched, or they put them in a wrong area, forgot about them, and they got bugs on them or something. You want a bug-free seedling, and you want something that's 2 to 3 inches tall, not stretch, a nice, stocky, strong, sturdy plant. Remember, this is a vertical condominium. We don't want to start with something that's 12 inches. We want to have a nice, strong plant. And so this is an example of a lettuce that is perfect for transplant. So I don't like transplanting really small seedlings. When we do, when they get into the tower garden, it's high flow aeroponics. You got a lot of tumbling water. They get beat up a little bit. So we want a strong seedling, something that can, handle some of that water straight out of the chute. So compact, sturdy, deep color. Again, read into this some more. Number 4, harvest from your garden frequently. This is really important. So
I don't want to harvest. It looks too good.
That's what people do. In fact, we have people, their favorite dill plant, or something where it starts to flower. They love the flower, and it gets to be 3 feet tall up there. Steve, you've seen it. I've done it. You've done it because we follow the plant. We create shade, and so what we find. Here's my rule of thumb: if you want a pest-free garden, you want the sun to be shining on the leaves. You want the breeze to be flowing through your tower. That means you're going to see some of that plastic work. We want to be using our produce. We're not trying to grow a record-setting chard, even though we get it off the tower garden. We want to be cutting off of it frequently. And what that does, it eliminates places for bugs to hide. It allows the leaves to be stronger. But the plants start growing together and it turns into a jungle. The leaves get a lot thinner and weaker, and aphids love that. So, and some other pests. So, that's not a complicated thing. Harvest frequently, and I can promise you, people used to joke around. I can tell you this 14 years ago, and I hear it today. Tim, I got a huge complaint about the tower garden. I say, what's that?
Nope. Okay, what's that? Here, hold on. I
can't keep up with harvesting the produce. So once you get rolling, it really gets going. So we want you harvesting every night. We want you to get that salad every night for dinner, or the tomato, whatever you want to grow.
Okay, people can't keep up. All right, since he's going to go into pests, I kind of went over that. That's definitely on that blog. So I'm going to stop sharing. And just for the sake of time, I know I had a couple people that I didn't have them show off their tower gardens yet. Is there anyone that wants to show off their tower garden and tell us what you're growing?
Nikki, would now be a good time?
Sure.
We only grow medicine on it for now, because it's medicine. And we've actually grown it to flower at 9,000 feet in the winter. So outside, medicine does really well. In the summer, I mean, the stalks are like huge, and it produces beautifully. And Daryl just started winter medicine, and I'm not sure. I mean, can you see? These are like 13 days old.
Oh wait, can you tap on your screen and change the camera so the camera is the other direction? So type on the camera and it's like a camera with 2 arrows in it.
Huh? I'm looking. Oh yes.
There you go.
Oh my gosh, I'm amazing.
Okay, now your fingers in front of it.
Now.
There you go, all right.
How am I doing?
Perfect. I can see it now.
So, we're in the storeroom, obviously, but they love it. And like I said, we got all the way to flower at 9,000 feet in the middle of winter, which is pretty amazing.
Because I know I have a lot of Arizona people that are now questioning because it's now legal in Arizona.
Yeah.
Perfect.
This
Thank
garden
you.
Amazing for that. Okay, I'm going to try to get me back. How
Yep.
did I?
Same button. There you go. You're back.
I'm a genius. Okay, thanks.
Perfect. Deneen, do you want to show us what you're growing? Because I see your beautiful tower garden behind
Yeah,
you.
no, I don't see that little thing that turns the camera though.
Ooh, are you on a laptop or a phone?
There it is.
Oh, there
Okay,
you
there.
go.
We're
All right.
amazing. So I have a lot of lettuce. We go through a lot of lettuce. My basil's up at the top. My pepper plants and tomato plants are doing amazing. Quite a few tomatoes on there. Not very big
Wow.
yet.
Hey, you can see them.
I know they're not very big yet. I mean, it's pretty, it's pretty new. And I have a few things on here. I don't know what they are. So I'm just waiting for them to grow so I can figure it out. And that's about it. I mean, I have a lot of new ones in there right now.
Perfect.
Because when I took out my lettuce from the bolting, I had a lot of spaces. So yeah, that's it.
Awesome.
It's doing really well though. And I've eaten off of it a lot. So that was kind of cool.
Great.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to welcome Sharice. She's in the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, how nice.
We've got a lot of Arizona present and some Colorado, definitely. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome on. Oh, the light
Sorry.
just went out. I could see your face before. There we are. Hi.
Sorry, we're driving right now. So, but we just obviously moved from Arizona. So it's very different now trying to get used to a new climate to grow in.
Definitely.
So, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You tell us.
And by the time we moved here, I kind of missed some of the growing season that would be here. And so I got things going a little bit late, but for now, I just have tomatoes growing and so some of the things like cucumbers are kind of on their way out.
Okay.
And lettuces are doing well.
Nice. Okay. Well, yeah, a new climate. I moved from Arizona to Colorado. And one of my biggest differences is that in Arizona, I always needed to bring down the pH. I always needed to add acid. And moving here in Colorado, it's completely different. Every time I check the pH, it's super acidic and I need to add base. So that's some interesting thing that I learned since I moved. It was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So I checked the pH and I recently got you get the pH and you put the little drops and that kind of thing. I recently got on Amazon an actual pH meter. I highly recommend it. It costs like 10 or 15 bucks or something. And it's really easy to test the pH. And then I'm like, know exactly what it is. So the 0.01 or whatever. So I highly recommend doing something like that for the pH to test it.
I did one of the EC meters also for the mineral.
Okay.
So you just stick it in there and it tells you exactly what your mineral content is.
Oh,
so you don't have
that's
to
cool.
you don't have to guess, after when you're constantly adding. So that thing works really well.
Okay. Where did you find that?
I got it on Amazon. Everything's on Amazon.
Great. Okay.
Yeah. It works really good.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you all for being on. I thank you so much. I look forward to seeing more amazing Tower Garden stuff. I know, do we have a question? No?
Daryl says 62 degrees is optimum temperature, especially at this altitude, for nutrient absorption.
Oh, 62 degrees. I didn't know that.
The water.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. That's cool. I didn't know that. Well, I appreciate all of you for being on. Please reach out if you have questions. And I was going to extend all the people that I invited on. I know since we have some amazing experiences with the Tower Garden, we usually share it with those around. I will happily, for anyone that purchases a Tower Garden, I will happily give you a $50 finder's fee. Just to kind of incentivize most people for talking about their Tower Garden. I know there's so many other people that want them. So
yeah,
happily, if you connect me, I will I will divvy up and give you some of the funds that I get for the purchase. So
Well, good. We're working on some people.
awesome.
All right, Nikki,
Well,
thank you.
you all have an amazing evening. Thank you for jumping on. And yeah, reach out if you have questions. I like to set up this kind of call every once in a while just to make sure everyone knows what they can do with the Tower Garden, what is possible with the Tower Garden, and then possibly meet other people in the same climate. They can share recipes or share triumphs or challenges, which I think is really important.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
That's awesome.
Yes,
Thanks,
thank
Nick.
you
I learned a
so
lot.
much. Oh, good.
That was awesome.